Hello everyone, John here. Another video in the Carrera Track shoulder series. Today I'll be adding the alternating ripple strip color around the inside of this internal shoulder here to act as a rumble strip. The materials you'll need, or that I've used, I've already done some, I'll show you those later. Electrical tape, this is 18mm wide, or just under 3/4 of an inch wide, available from any supermarket or big box store. I've got that from our local Bunnings. The key thing is to make sure that the rolls are the same width so that you've got consistency when you apply one piece next to the other. I've used this method for pretty much on all my tracks. I typically will paint the white lines around the wood routed tracks I've built. But this is a non-permanent track, so all of these shoulders, everything needs to be removable. But I like using the electrical tape because it gives a bit of texture and a bit of bumpiness on the apex of the corner, which is like the typical rumble strip. But the other materials I'm using, a pencil, a ruler as well, and what I've done here is I've actually stuck a piece of the electrical tape on the end to mark the width, and I'll actually be using that to just get a gauge of the spacing and how many pieces I need, because I like to start with a white and end with a white. So sometimes that can be a little bit tricky, but this helps to at least give you a guide as you're applying the pieces of tape to the shoulder, and aim to finish on white, which you'll see as well. What I've also done here is pre-cut a whole wodge of red and white pieces. Just bring this up a bit closer. You can see these pieces I've cut in a rectangular shape. So that's the width of the tape there, but I've just cut them a little bit longer. So as you place one piece of tape next to the other, you overlap them slightly, and it gives you that little bump on the ripple strip, which I quite like. It's personal preference, of course. So let's mark the spacing of the tape around the inside. So I like to put the tape right on the edge of the track and leave the additional shoulder if the car does run a bit wide. It just makes it look a bit more realistic. You see that on a lot of tracks where you have the ripple strip and there's further runoff, whether it's on an outer shoulder or an inner shoulder. But what I'll do here, I've pull this shoulder out. I'll basically go down the middle, and we can just start marking, and we'll work our way left and right, and see where we end up with the pieces of tape, or the distances that we need to get the red, white, and finish on white, here, and you'll see that. But very simply, and it'll be very difficult to see on the camera, but I just start in the middle here, roughly in the middle, and I'll just go mark there, and just step around, mark there, and work my way right around. And it's a bit difficult to see on camera. I'll see if you can see it. You can see it a little bit there, but that's the idea. And as you're applying the pieces of tape, you can just use these as a guide for the spacing, and I'll show you that. So that piece there where I will start, the first white piece, I'll just put a longer white piece to start off that shoulder, then work my way back. One thing to keep in mind is that the direction of my track, let's go car, is this way. So what I like to do is I'll start with the tape going this way, because the tape will overlap this way. So if cars do make contact with the rumble strip or ripple strip, as they will, it won't peel up the tape, as opposed to doing it the other way, where the ends of the tape would be facing the direction of the cars traveling, and it would, I guess, shorten the life of those and roll the tape up. Starting off, I will just use a roll. I'll just pull the roll of electrical tape out, and as I go through this, it doesn't stick until you apply pressure, which is quite nice. So you can basically just put your finger there to start, and work that right to the end of the shoulder. And then we'll get the scissors, give it the chop, and come back later and trim that up. So that's the start. And then what I'll do, alternating with these pieces of red and white tape. I will effectively just again using these marks as a guide to roughly make the spacing equal. I'll overlap that, as you can see there, and just bringing that up to the camera, you can see it's created a little, you can see a bump in the shoulder there with the 2 layers of tape, which gives it that rumble strip effect, which I quite like. So I'll just continue this all the way around, and we'll show you when we get to the other end how to finish it off. The other thing to mention is that when I'm applying the next piece, when I move this along, I like to try and make the colours square in shape, so it looks like it's 18 millimeters by 18 millimeters. So again, I'll just move that until I'll eyeball it. I mean, we're not building a clock here, so we can just get that, and you can see the flexibility of the tape where I've just started to make it follow around the corner, and you can see there's a crinkle there, but you can just push that out and electrical tape will conform beautifully to the surface. So I've worked my way around and alternated the tape to a point where I think, well, that's enough, and I'll finish it off here with white. But again, you can see that rumble strip effect there. So if I run my finger across there, you can hear that, which I quite like. We'll finish the end off here with tape. Again, needs to be a length. Cut that off. And overlap that to where I want it, and then just follow that along the edge of the shoulder. Look at that, cut to perfect length. And what I'll show you now is hopefully not cut my finger off. There is a better way to do this if you do have a craft knife or a Stanley knife, as we call it here in Australia. But I'm lazy, as you probably would know. But what I do here is just get the scissor blade and use my fingers as a guide. Doesn't produce the best results, but if I don't like it, I can always replace that piece. No, didn't press hard enough. And there you go. Do that on both sides. Here we go. Did too well, but let's have a look. There we go. I think that'll do it. Yeah, it's pretty close. Like I said, we're not building a clock, and it's a racetrack after all. Although with the plastic track, for people with OCD like myself, well, OCD tendencies, I like everything symmetrical and so forth. Yes, I think that's turned out pretty well. And what I'll end up doing is I have quite double-sided tape here, but I do need to fix the track down this here so that the shoulder basically contours and lines up with this check lane here. And I would have mentioned in one of my other videos, and I'll show you quickly here. I'll place the shoulder in its rightful position. So there you go. That's what it should look like. You can see with the elevation of the track changing, there's a gap. I do need to fix that down. Hence the double-sided tape. But I have done that. But just to illustrate what I mentioned before, where the check lanes or any digital piece is thicker than the typical non-digital piece. So you can see here there's about 1 millimetre or so gap between the 9mm MDF and the top of that check lane. So what I will end up doing is just propping this up a little so it just hides the edges of the track there. And this will all be infilled anyway with some. A quick whip around of the other pieces I've already done. You can see here, as you come down this back straight and around, you got the rumble strip there, and also as you come down from the bridge section down there and around with that hairpin area, you can see that's all. And these pieces, as you've probably seen in previous videos, these are pieces. So I've just made them alternate and line up where possible. You will see on one over here I did mess up a little bit, but again, I might change it, I might not. But you can see where I've got you're coming down the middle straight and change lanes into the pits. You can see here this pit piece. It finishes on a white here, and this next piece starts on a white. So I did this one first and this one second. You know what, I'm probably not going to care less. I might put a touch of red tape in between, but we'll see how we go. So a couple more pieces to go. I do need to over the bridge complete. I'll do that shortly, and also at the end of the main straight here. So coming down the main straight, there's the inside shoulder there, which I'll repeat the process on. But it's coming together nicely. Watch out for the next video. I've 3D printed some alternate brackets here so I can get rid of these red and white barriers and replace it with 3mm core flute of any height I like. And I'll show that in the next video. Thank you for watching.